Hi, my name's Starsky and welcome to From the Studio on Clubbing TV. In this episode, I'm going to be taking a look at the rather hefty Behringer MonoPoly. Now this is one fat sounding synth. The Mini Moog's got 3 oscillators and sounds big and fat. This has got 4 and can sound bigger and fatter. It's basically a clone of the Korg MonoPoly from back in the early 80s, late 70s. Brand new from Behringer. I've just received it this morning and I've been having a right old play with it. It's a really nice, funky bit of kit. It's really nice and sturdy, as has all this sort of Behringer gear. The knobs all feel really nice. It's got a lovely, hefty feeling metal panel, wooden sides. There are 3 separate angles that you can set it to. But I'm going to leave it flat for now so that the overhead camera can pick up what I'm doing. And although it's spelt Monopoly, it's actually pronounced MonoPoly because you can play it monophonically, 1 note at a time. With all 4 oscillators playing at the same time, or you can play it polyphonically, so 4 independent notes. But it's not a polyphonic synth in the truest sense of the word, because you don't have 4 independent envelopes for each of the voices or 4 independent filters like you would on a true polyphonic, but we'll get into that in a minute. Let's see what we'll start by taking a look at first then, shall we? And just a warning that the jokes don't get any better than this. So it's the Oscillators. Let's start off by listening to the basic sounds. It's a triangle. Sawtooth. Now we've got this one called pulse width modulation. So that's a pulse. It's being modulated over here. So basically you've only got 3 wave shapes: the triangle, the sawtooth and the pulse. We've got an octave switch. And that's the same for all 4 of them, but we've got an additional tune knob on oscillators 2, 3 and 4. Let's listen to that. And unlike most synths where you can go plus or minus an octave at least, this only does a semitone. And that's because it's designed to get those big, fat, detuned sounds. So if we get a sawtooth up on each of the oscillators again, slightly detune oscillator 2, bring in 3, detune in that, then bring in 4, so really huge tones you can get from that. Imagine that in a club through huge, great bass bins. The whole place would be rattling. If you had the glass roof, it'd shatter. Well, I did say the jokes aren't going to get any better than this, and if you do call your synth the Monopoly, what do you expect? Okay, let's take a look at the filter. And the filter on this does some earth-shattering bass as well. If we just turn the resonance up and the cutoff down. So we're not listening to any of the oscillators here, just the filter. And if you're listening to that through some big speakers, I apologise if I've just shattered some ornaments or things have rattled off shelves, because that's phenomenal. Other things that it does, you've got obviously the envelope generator intensity and the envelope generator, so we can do all stuff like you'd expect. I just love this thing actually, it sounds absolutely fabulous. So it's called the MonoPoly. Let's take a look at how it does poly, shall we? And I'm just making sure I'm getting the most out of my amazing props here. We've got these 4 white buttons here. So at the minute I'm playing in unison mode. And you might be able to see these LEDs here. All 4 of them are lighting at the same time. It's playing all 4 voices. It's playing the one note on all 4 voices. But we've also got this poly mode. So when you're playing 1 oscillator there, then we'll play 2. 3, 4. So that sounds like you're playing a poly. But you're not quite, because as I said earlier, you don't have an extra filter for each of the sounds. So if I was playing something, for example, let's do something with a bit of a filter sweep on it. You can hear the cutoff building and then dropping. But if I play another note on top of that, it doesn't do it on a true poly would. Synths that do it this way are called paraphonic normally. But it is nice, you can do those nice sort of Chicago house chords with this. We could play a chord, put it on the chord memory. So not bad for a monosynth, but I suppose they are pushing the boundaries by calling it polyphonic, but it still really makes it nice and flexible. We've also got an arpeggiator on this as well. We've just got 3 settings. We've got up, down, and up and down. We can have 1 octave, 2 octaves, or it says full, and full is 5 octaves as far as I can work out. Just put a single oscillator on. And the speed of the arpeggio is determined by this MG2 frequency. That's really interesting. Each of the separate notes can play a different tone. Quite cool. So let's try that with a chord. And I can't think of any other synth that does that. It's quite a nice effect. Let's try it on unison mode, sort of more standard, shall we? Really good fun this. You can see what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the weekend. And with the last throw of the dice, what we're going to take a look at? For the final look at Community Chance, it's the effects. And what you've got to get your head round with this is what it calls the effects. Firstly, they're not actually effects as you think of reverbs and delays. It's the sync and the cross mod. And secondly, you've got these sort of master and slave oscillators, and you've got 2 ways of setting them up. Oscillator 1 in single mode is your master, and 2, 3 and 4 all sort of sync up to oscillator 1, and in double mode, oscillator 1 and oscillator 3 are the masters, and oscillator 2 and oscillator 4 are the slaves. I've done a much more detailed review of this on my Starsky Carr YouTube channel that you might want to look at if you're interested in one of these. I won't go into it here, it gets a bit complex, but you can do pretty much anything you think you can do. You've just got to get your head around how it works. So we bring the effects in, listening to oscillator 2 only. Bring it onto cross mod. cross mod's often used just for clangs and bangs and mad effects, but if you tune the oscillators, you can get some really nice, harsh bass tones with it. So not just for effects. And then we've got sync and cross mod. So this is a bit strange because you're syncing something that you're cross modulating it with. So I don't know how exactly all that works, but let's have a listen. It's a bit rattly, that. It sounds like somebody's playing something in a big tin can. Interesting sound, but you can also put this in poly mode, which means you're modulating one oscillator with another that's out of tune. And we're getting into modular territory there, aren't we? You don't tend to hear things like that on a standard synth. They're the sort of things you hear with people that have got a whole wall full of holes and wires and sort of all sorts of mad craziness. So I do like this. The more I play with this, the more I realise there's loads under the hood. So you've seen what it can do, but is it for you? This is a particularly weird synth from my perspective. All that sort of mad stuff you can do with the cross mod and with the arpeggiator, all that stuff I was doing in the end there is really, really nice, and there's loads of stuff to explore. How controllable it is and whether I'll be able to use it in a track is debatable. We'll find out after I spent the weekend messing around with it, but I'm really enjoying it. As far as sort of build quality, as a nice bit of kit, it really does feel solid, and I'm really impressed with it. So I hope that was of some use to you, and if it was, don't forget you can watch this whenever you like on our Clubbing TV official YouTube channel on the From the Studio playlist. And if you are into your synths and stuff, do take a look at my Starsky Carr YouTube channel. I've got a much more in-depth look at this and a comparison coming up with this and the Korg's original 1980s version of it as well. So I'll see you in the next episode of From the Studio.